Got a 2009 Dodge Charger. I'm going to be pulling the engine out. It's got a real bad rod knock. I suspect it has a blown head gasket because it's got gray smoke coming out the tailpipe. So I'm going to go ahead and try to record as much of this process as I can and post it. Maybe it might help someone out that's wondering where to start. I pull engines often, but I've never done a Dodge Charger. I couldn't find any real references, so I figured I'd make one. So how bad is the rod knock, you might ask? This bad. Yeah, so it's knocking pretty bad. I'm gonna go ahead and just pull it. I already got the engine. It's here already. I didn't really dig too deep into it, but I kind of diagnosed it to be rod knock just based off of where the noise was coming from and previous. I've dealt with this before, so it sounds pretty much like rod knock to me. Either way, I'm gonna pull the engine and inspect it internally, tear it apart, rebuild it, put it in something else. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do a quick pull and swap everything over from the old engine to the new one and drop the new one in. New, but it's used. It's new to this car, and hopefully it's not knocking. Like I said, I picked it up on eBay. I've had good experiences with eBay motors in the past. I don't think this is gonna be like my third or fourth one. I don't think I've had issues with them, and I'm hoping, that stays consistent. So I've done kind of just like a soft pull on information for how to, pull this engine out. And some of the things I'm going to do are probably not necessary. Like I'm going to remove the radiator just to create some extra space. I was reading online that may not be necessary, but I'm going to do it just to make it easier on myself. And I'm going to record as much of this process as I can, and maybe a little before and after of how it sounds now, and hopefully how much better it'll sound after. Alright, so now I'm going to disconnect the negative battery post. That's where you always want to start at. Just kill all the power to the car so you don't accidentally shock yourself. So these batteries are always in weird spots on these Dodges. Sometimes it's in front in the bumper, in the front driver's side tire in front of it. Sometimes it's under the back seat. This one's in the trunk. So I'm going to disconnect that. It's a 10 millimeter. There you go. Alright, so from what I can tell, this is all gonna have to come out. This air intake, all this is gonna have to come off so I can lift up the intake and be able to get to those top bolts that connect the transmission and engine together. And I like to work my way from top to bottom, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna start pulling this stuff off. So. I'm just going to start disconnecting all these electrical connectors. I mean, they're all going to have to come unplugged, so you could either just unplug them as you see them or just as you need to. I'm just going to continue to work and unplug them as they're easiest to get to. And as I need to start pulling things, I'll start pulling things. Like this will come off and then this will come off. Okay, it's time to get this off. So for the most part, this kind of stuff is pretty simple and straightforward. How you take it off is how you put it back on. The crucial part is not mixing up things like nuts and bolts, and even something as simple as this, just to get in a good habit. I always put it in a bag and I'll write what it came off of. If it's something that I don't think I'm gonna remember, like, you know, some bolts can look close but be a little bit longer or shorter. You don't want to mix those up. So as I take a part off, like if I took all these bolts off the timing cover, I'd label them timing cover. And you can't really go wrong there. You just label the bolts, put them exactly back where you took them from. Easy, easy peasy. Okay, now we're gonna see how we get these wipers off. So usually it's just like a cap. You pop the cap off and there's like a nut underneath. Cap. There's a nut underneath, gonna break that loose. See what size it is. It's a 15. So right in here, there are going to be some splines. You want to make sure you put this back exactly how it was, or your wipers will be off. Same thing on the other side. Alright, so what I just did is I just put the nut back on. That's another good way to make sure you don't mix them up. Just put it exactly where you took it off from. And after you show you got all the fasteners and the windshield wiper blades off, just give it a couple tugs. Not too hard, just make sure you don't pull too hard, because if you left something in, you don't want to break anything. So this plastic is oftentimes brittle because it's baked in the sun day in and day out. So just give it a couple gentle tugs. If you feel resistance, double check for a clip you might have missed. Look at that. Well, you can't see on camera, but there's one that was covered in leaves that I missed right here. Which probably means there's another one on the other side. The importance of double checking. Now we're going to get this bar out of here, and that should be it. I shouldn't have to remove the wiper motor, but we'll see. The bar's probably going to be the same size, 15 or 14. Maybe 13. So we got two 13s on this end. I see a 13 over there. Actually, it's a push pin. Here, my 13. Boom, boom. Two over here. So this inside 13 also serves as to hold the computer. So let's just move that out the way. We don't want to have to take that off if we don't have to. So it needs to go out this way to free it from the wiper motor. It's like a little slotted stud that it's rubber, but it slides in. It kind of holds it in place. And then I've got a wire that's kind of pushed into a hole on the bottom. Just going to pry that off with the prying tool. On the other side, we got a wiring harness that also needs to get pried off. And these bolts came out of that bar. I'm just going to screw them into the bar. Extra screw into the frame. But yeah, just screw them back where they go so you don't misplace them. Eventually this hood's gonna have to come off too. It's not bothering me right now, so I'm just gonna keep working until it becomes a problem. And just looking back here, we got some hoses here. They're gonna have to come off because this intake is coming off next. So we got some hoses here and a metal tube for the EGR valve that goes into the back of the intake. And I'm gonna have to check the other side, but you really want to double check because you don't want to break anything. So. And sometimes you gotta realize these hoses haven't been disturbed in years, so they're gonna be tough to get off. You don't want to crack it or scrape it or poke a hole in it. So just pry around it, just all the way around until you break all the dirt and debris free. And you should twist and slide right off. Twist and pull, and it'll slide right off. So that popped right off. Okay, so there's another hose here, but I'm gonna go ahead and pry that one out. I think the EGR valve hose comes off last. So giving it another look from this side, there's a bar that connects this intake to the block. It looks like it's a 10 mil. I'm gonna take that off. And it's like a few spots where you just gotta disconnect everything from this thing. So, see the tape. Okay, now with that loose, I think we're safe to go ahead and start zipping out these bolts for the intake. And then, so even though you think you have everything, it's always good to just kind of play it safe. So what I'm going to do is unbolt, loosen all these bolts, get them nice and free, and kind of same thing as with the cowl. Just give it a light tug and feel for resistance. If you feel resistance, stop and double check. Don't want to break anything. It's worth the 5 to 10 seconds that you're going to take just to double check. so it looks like I got all the bolts, but like I said, just kind of tilt it back a little, feel for resistance. Already I'm feeling some resistance from the EGR pipe, so I guess it's gonna have to come off now. I was hoping it slide right out, but I guess you gotta pry it out. Okay, let's double check for resistance. The pipe is free, but let's check the other side. So the resistance was this transmission fluid dipstick that sits in the middle, so. Okay, now the fun begins. So I'm just gonna continue to disconnect wires and plugs and get the wiring harness free and clear. Usually you'd stuff like rags or something in these ports, these intake ports, to make sure nothing falls in. But I'm gonna tear this engine down to the block anyway and rebuild it and clean it out, so I'm just not concerned about it. Like I said, we're just disconnecting and unplugging everything that we see, keeping the wire and harness attached to the engine. So, disconnecting and unplugging the fuel injectors, then the coil packs. I'm just working my way around the block. So. Alright, so a lot of times these things are going to be in tight spots, hard to get a tool in, so what I usually do is I'll get an angled pick to stick in and just kind of release the tabs to pull them out. Remember, the goal here is to free the harness without damaging, tearing, or destroying anything, ideally. So accidents happen. Sometimes you miss things, you get impatient, you get rushed, and make mistakes. So stay calm, just take it easy. It's not that bad. This isn't as daunting of a task as most people may think. If you have a process and you're meticulous about organizing your bolts and just keeping a frame of mind of, this is a big task, yes, but I'm gonna get it done. So as you start to free your wiring harness, just kind of lay it to the side. That way it's free and clear, but like as if you were about to just yank this right up, just lay it out the way. Okay, so I've got two grounds right here that bolt right to the side of the motor. It's this middle bolt. It's probably gonna be like a 15, I believe. And it's like right dead center with cylinder 3, because you got 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6. So right dead center with cylinder 3, there's a strap that comes here to the frame, and there's a wire that connects to the harness. The strap is the first thing that goes on, and then the wire from the harness goes on top of that, then the bolt goes through. Not sure it really matters. I'm sure the order doesn't matter, but some people like to be exact. And before I get too far, this bolt came from here. There's a stud sticking out of the intake that this bolt screws on. I'm going to screw that bolt back onto that stud. it hit the ground. So it was a 15, by the way. This is another tip. It's like, don't get frustrated with these things. It's like you hit walls sometimes. Just take a break. Much rather take a break and, you know, kill 5, 10, 15 minutes than get impatient and make a mistake that's gonna cost you, you know, an hour, 2 hours longer, and hunting down some part that you can't get anywhere. We get a better angle on this thing. As I'm working, I'm always kind of visualizing what's like my next move or what I'm going to be removing next. So, see some hoses that are going to have to come off. Might as well get those off too. These are the grounds. First one is a strap. Second one is the wire. Bolt goes back in. I'm hesitating to pull these hoses off. These are going to be the coolant hoses that go into the firewall for your heater core. So coolant's going to come out of there. You never know how much, so I'm going to wait until I drain the radiator and everything before I pull those. And just kind of looking to see what's next. Disconnect the fuel rail now. So this one doesn't look like it has a pressure relief. I know they're probably going to say something like, go ahead and pull the fuel pump relay, or unplug the fuel pump and start it up and let it go. But we already disconnected the battery, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull it, put a rag over it, and let it spray. This is like my go-to tool. More times than not, it's gonna be this one, but you never really know with Dodge. So. Yep, she's off. Didn't spray, but it's dripping. All right, I'm gonna take a peek at the back here, see what's left. So I'm seeing there's a part of the wiring harness that kind of has push pins that mount it to this bracket attached to the transmission. I'm going to leave the transmission in. I'm not pulling it out as a unit. I'm just going to leave the trans in, support it. But I think the bolts that hold that bracket may need to come out. So I'm going to disconnect that, pop that part of the wiring harness off, so I can get at those bolts a little bit easier. Okay, that's clear. This line hooks up to the rail that's gonna have to come off too, but again, coolant really don't want to make a mess, so I'm just gonna save those for last. Just take another look around. I see something here, a wire that goes all the way down to the bottom. Just judging by the position of it, it's probably going to be the AC compressor wire. Just a guess. I've literally never worked on this kind of car before. I do the 4-cylinder engines pretty often. Okay, so it's definitely the AC line. The issue is I can't see if it's a pin holding it in. I'm gonna have to get a flashlight. Instead of fighting and breaking it, let's just check it out. Oh, look at that. So this one's designed a little bit different. It's the green plug that plugs into and this is not the AC compressor line. It's the oil pressure sensor. So it's gonna be a green plug with a red tab that goes straight down into it. You just pop that up and depress the tab and just pull it, wiggle it off. So I'm just gonna use the pick. And again, these things have been on here for years, man, so you gotta be patient and gentle with them. You don't want to break it. Equally as tricky is how to get it out of here. So I see it's a 15 holding it on. Just get that off. Fifteen's already out and about. Not enough clearance for the long one. And you gotta remember, some of these things have never been disturbed since original installation at the factory. So I'm gonna need to crack this loose. I got it started, but it's just not getting any easier for my electric ratchet. It doesn't have enough torque and power on it. There it went. Okay, so there's barely any clearance. You don't want to get yourself jammed up to where this is up against your fans or your radiator. So if you're going the route where you're taking the radiator and the fans out, do that before you get to this nut. If not, just back it off about halfway and then just, you know, it's going to be easy from there. Just twist it with your hand. And of course, they're going to use like a crazy long bolt to hold the wire on. Okay. So it appeared that the wire was being held on by a bracket, and the bracket was being held down by the bolt, but I think I just took that bolt out for no reason. There's the AC line we were looking for earlier. It's part of that. There's two. Okay. Let's see it. Same thing. Red tab, pop it out that way, and pull it out. Really don't know why they put these lock tabs in. only serves to make it hard to remove. AC compressor, all pressure sensor. They both had one of these red tabs that slide in and out. The AC compressor one came out. I probably won't put it back on. Just laying it out the way here. You want to get it all the way out the way. Okay, so now I got an O2 sensor plug here. There's going to be one on the other side, 2 banks, 2 O2 sensors. Got to disconnect those now. Got to relocate, get a better angle on it. Again, some of these things haven't been disturbed since put together at the factory. It's going to be dirt and debris binding it up. It's not a pry. If you got to pry, just pry gently. You're tugging at this harness, you want to be gentle. Some of these wires, some of these sensors, the wire is just one single wire. That's so easy to pop. If it gets hung up, easier than you think. So gently, be mindful. Okay. So we're pretty much home free on this side. Besides the exhaust, you got to get underneath to take the exhaust loose. So, you know, save the bottom work for last if you can. No sense in getting dirty early on. Do the bottom work last. You can get dirty at the end and go get cleaned up immediately after. I'm just gonna stick this bolt back in. I'll tighten it up before I put the engine back. My whole mission here during this removal is to make the reinstall as easy as possible for myself. I don't want any questions. I don't want any uncertainty about what goes where and what bolt came from where. So I'm gonna do the legwork now to label these bolts or just screw them back in where they go and save myself headache later. I want the install to be as easy as possible. So over here on this side, on this back corner, we got another spot where the harness is push pinned in. We just push that out. Slide this back. Got another ground on this side as well coming off of the harness. And we got the alternator plug right here. So let's go ahead and get that out. Plug out. And underneath it, it's gonna be a bolt. Like a 13. All right, we're back from the water food break. So, yeah, I'm trying to remember where I was here. There's ground over here. Let's get this alternator bracket up. This alternator disconnected. Alternator disconnected. It's a pretty lengthy break I took. I don't know if you could tell, but the sun started to go down. Alright, got the 15 again. There's a ground on this side. Alright, it's broken loose, so we're gonna get it from the angle that suits us best. Ground. Take the bolt, screw it back in again. Lines up dead center with cylinder number 2. I don't have to screw it in all the way, just enough to where it won't fall out. Another plug back here for the EGR valve, I believe. EGR valve and the other O2 sensor for the exhaust. We got one more wire down here. Where does it go to? Looks like it might be another ground. Get a light back here. You got to be careful with those grounds. Make sure you see where they're coming from and put them back on. So I'd hate, absolutely hate, to put all the stuff back together, put the intake back on, only to find that a ground back here is not connected. Because odds are you're probably going to have to pull all that back off again. This looks like just one of those grounds that slides right off. Pretty much good over here. Then you want to lay the wiring harness off to the side off the way. Believe it or not, there's another ground down here. It's the one that comes up to here, mounts right here on the strut tower. At this point, we've got the wiring harness. The wiring harness is nicked. It's pretty much out of here. So almost at that point where the only things left are like drain the cooling, disconnect the cooling hoses, and disconnect the exhaust, and then all that's left is the bolts holding the engine to the transmission. So next I'm gonna go ahead and pull the hood off. Now this is really a two-man job, but I'm gonna see if I can get it done. I've done it before by myself, but let me see if I can do it. This is gonna be your windshield washer fluid line right here. It runs up through here. Now the hood is gonna come off, but this hinge is gonna stay. So you just wanna pop these. And they're usually, a lot of times they're already broken like this. Already broken on this side. So that's gonna be something I'm probably gonna end up having to replace. All right, pop that one off. Yep. So you can usually get away with taking the side opposite of the hood prop off first. So this side is completely disconnected. Now what I'll do is I'll catch this bottom bolt. Alright, as you can see, the hood's off. Got it done by myself. So I usually lay the hood on the roof, and where the latch is for the hood, the little rod that latches, I put like something soft, a rag or some piece of foam, whatever you have, just to keep it from scratching up the roof of your car. Now that opens it up pretty well. That's more lighting for me. Oh, this too. Stop here. The other ones were 15, so let's see if this one's a 15. It feels smaller. Might be a 14, but I'm gonna try a 13. 13. And break it loose. And it'll spin off by hand the rest of the way. I'm not sure if this even needs to come out because it technically mounts in through the transmission, but I'm sure it screws through the transmission into the engine. So let's just get it out of the way because we don't want to break it. You know, save a few minutes, cost a couple hours. Okay, yeah. So it's a nut going onto a step. I'm just gonna screw it back on for now, but it's gonna have to come off to get the transmission going. It's gonna take a second to clean all this off. All right. Yeah, these are the bolts from the hood. They're red, match the car. I'm not gonna get them confused. But always label your bags if you know, this is your first time or okay, I'm gonna get the light. Alright, so at this point, all the wires but the starter have been disconnected. I'm just gonna jack up the car, get underneath, check out what's going on the bottom, see what order of operation would be best. Do I remove the exhaust manifolds or do I just unbolt them from the wide pipe and take the starter out, you know, underneath, like through the small window you have. Pretty much all I got left to do is disconnect and, well, drain the coolant, disconnect the hoses for the coolant travel, and disconnect the exhaust and flywheel bolts after I remove the starter, and then transmission bolts. I already know I'm gonna mount up for my crane, so these two bolts for the grounds that are dead center, I'm gonna mount up right there for those. So just giving it one more look. Yep, it's time to jack it up.